In the spring of 1954, on the very day I arrived in Sydney with my family, Francis Brabazon handed me a notice sent by Avatar Mayor Baba that his Western male followers over the age of 16 could come to be with him from the 10th to the 30th of September. With great joy and on my part wonderment, Francis and I arranged to travel together to India and attend the gathering that came to be known as the 3 Incredible Weeks with Mayor Baba. We arrived in Bombay on the 10th of September, where we met 15 other Western men from America and England, and we set off by coaches to Mehrabad. It was the only occasion that beloved Baba held a program designed exclusively for Western men. And it proved to be a time of extraordinary intimacy between Baba and this small group of men. Upon the hill at Mehrabad was a large 2-storey stone house which had served for years as a retreat for Baba's women disciples. Baba now decided that the retreat should be used for the Western men. Early in the morning of the 12th, we were taken by coach to Ahmednagar to Wadia Park. There, standing on the platform, we watched the car bringing beloved Baba arrive below us. Baba seated himself on the platform, and we then sat on chairs in an arc some 10 feet behind him. Then, as though he had suddenly remembered our existence, he turned in the chair in short, emphatic movements, looking at each one. His glance pierced me as though it were a shaft penetrating to the depths, and I felt a shock through my body like an electric charge. We stood around Baba as he began the darshan program. As I watched, I noticed the graceful movement of his hand and arm. I noticed that no one was missed, although the crush was heavy and some would tend to be pushed aside. Barbara's arm would shoot through the press of bodies and make contact with the jostled one. That strong movement of his arm seemed to me like a series of arrows of love to each passing heart. Barbara gave and gave his love, irrespective of the motive that brought these tens of thousands to him. But I noticed that, absorbed as he appeared to be in giving sweets to each passing hand, every now and then he would stop and stroke the face of the person and perhaps say something. The contact, the wide, blossoming smile it produced, obviously suggested that here was one who loved and did not just seek blessings for self. Barbara's mandali directed alternate lines of men and boys, then lines of women and girls, so that they came single file before Barbara. For the most part it was orderly, but at times large groups, especially of men, surged forward impatient to get to him. He was so magnetic that people sometimes could not restrain themselves. I wondered, aren't they aware of Barbara's love where they are? Suddenly I realised they were surging toward Barbara because they were receiving his love. They felt compelled to get to him, to touch him and to drink from the cup of his divine love. Sometimes Barbara himself would have to stand up and wave the people back to their seats, reassuring them that he would not leave until they'd had their precious contact with him.
I gave my all to the one I found the greatest thing that I could ever find. I found God's love in every little thing I do in life. I know that He alone is real. Yes, I know that He alone is real. And once I saw love.
Late in the day, Barbara's right hand gave out, and he continued giving prasad with his left. When some of his disciples asked him to rest, he replied, "This is my rest."
And that He is near Baba, and that we should follow Him, and that He is near Baba. I saw the
At 6 o'clock, it was time for the darshan program to end, and by now the atmosphere was electric with Barbara's presence. The crowd, seemingly magnetised by Barbara's irresistible love, simply could not break the connection with him. To escape, Barbara mounted on the top of the car that had brought him. The glorious sunset became enhanced by the magnificent luminosity of Barbara's light as the car slowly moved through the crowd of ecstatic people. Perhaps for all of us the next day was spent in reflection on what had taken place the previous day, and of course the great expectation of what was to follow. for the one who had shown love and divinity in measureless abundance to the masses was about to become our daily companion. We rose early in eager anticipation of beloved Barbara's arrival. A lookout was stationed on the tower, and suddenly he shouted, "He is coming!" I would watch him striding slowly up the hill effortlessly, each movement like that of some skilled dancer who forgets himself for a moment and becomes pure movement. I never saw a single movement of body, limbs or facial changes that did not prompt my heart to declare perfection and my mind to be baffled and say, he could not be other than God. Everyone was somewhat standoffish at first. The physical proximity of the avatar is an awesome experience. But Barbara broke the ice by saying, "Don't be afraid. Gather around me like friends." That did it. We were like children of the merciful Father. Barbara joked with some, and then, as if to say, "Let me show you around the place," he led us on a tour of Mehrabad. Barbara told stories highlighting the significance of each building along the way. Striding rapidly down Mehrabad Hill, we arrived at Lower Mehrabad, just as two station wagons carrying 14 nuns from Upasni Maharaja's ashram arrived. As each in turn bowed at Barbara's feet, Barbara exclaimed, "I am the Ancient One. I am the one reality." Returning to Upper Mehrabad, Barbara took the nuns on a tour of Mehrabad Hill. Film footage was shot of all of us, and then later, Barbara and us Westerners gathered in the Western room of the water tank. Barbara began to dictate on his alphabet board, and Erich spoke his words.
Be perfectly natural and frank with me. I am your master, but also your friend. I am one of you and one with you. I will come to see you every day between now and the 27th, unless the rains make the roads impassable, or unless I catch a cold from one of you. I will explain many things about the spiritual path and realization, and about my work and what you can do to help in it.
Then Barbara continued to put us at ease by asking each of us to say something. But after this, Barbara swayed us in the opposite direction by saying,
Before I drop my body, I will have to undergo violent attacks on it. What has to happen will happen, and I will gladly undergo all this for the sake of humanity.
And he continued in a very personal manner.
Before I met my beloved in union, I lost everything: ego, mind, and lower consciousness. But thank God, I did not lose my sense of humor. That is why I appear among you on your level. It is so easy to see God that its being easy has made it infinitely difficult. When all doubts are removed, when mind is at infinite peace, when you continually, unbreakably enjoy divine bliss, in that split second you see, in that moment you understand that you always were that. It is more clear than what you see here with your gross eyes. If you were to see me at Andhra and elsewhere, where the traditions are different from yours, you would see how different it is. They respect me as they are used to thinking of saints and yogis sitting with a sober expression on their faces. If they were to see me here with you and you eating and smoking in front of me, they would say, "What is going on here?" When I sit with the lowly and the poor, I am one with them. And when I sit with you, I am one with you. But when I am in my divine state, only God knows who I am. You cannot.
Before departing, Baba promised us that he would give each of us a private interview the next day. Then Baba went down the hill to confer with Padre and Pendu about the arrangements for the meetings on the 29th and 30th. On September 16th, Baba directed that we be brought to Mehrazad. He showed us the new life caravan, the blue bus, the Mananash cabin and other rooms. Then Baba led us up Seclusion Hill. At the crest he pointed where his cabin had been. He also said that the hill was not far from the place where Krishna used to play with the gopis. Baba told the men, "You are really fortunate to have come with me on the hill, with me leading the way. This is a very dear piece of land." Afterwards, Baba asked us to sit silently for 5 minutes. While embracing us as we left Mehrazad, Baba said,
You have only 15 days more to absorb Baba. After you leave, you will be free. You can play, work, be with your family and children as much as you want. But here, now, try to absorb as much of Baba as you can. What I would like, in short, is for you to take me with you when you go back.
The following morning, Baba arrived at Mehrazad at 9:30. He stated,
On very special occasions, I hold prayer meetings with a few of my most intimate disciples. Today, I shall hold one of these meetings so that you all may be included. You will see a Zoroastrian, Muslim, Hindu, and a special Christian prayer being recited.
Entering the main hall at Lower Mehrazad, Baba ordered that all of the doors and windows be tightly shut, and he began to recite the prayers of the 4 major religions with various members of his mandali.
O Lord of creation, Aruma, Thou art the source of life. Thou who art all effulgent and all knowing, art the Lord of lords, the King of kings, the Creator of all creation, the Preserver.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan
जीवनदायक तत्व आप ही हैं। अपने भक्तों की इच्छा पूर्ण करने हेतु आप शरीर धारण करते हैं। आप पालनकर्ता विष्णु हैं, जो शेषनाग सर्पों के राजा के ऊपर विश्राम।
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. O Lord, hear my prayer, and let my cry come unto thee. Thou who art the God of the God, the Father Almighty, Father, evermore.
Then he participated in his own prayer of confession, later to become known as the prayer of repentance. At the conclusion, Baba ordered the doors and windows to be reopened, and he returned to his chair, where we gathered around him on the floor.
Today you have joined God praying to God. I and God are one. Now we will go up the hill.
After having shown us the physical places of his work at Mehrabad and Mehrazad, Baba now began to spread his spiritual treasures before us.
I will give only points today, no explanations. Jesus and his inner circle and the Christian mystics all stressed purity of the heart. Muhammad and his imams also stressed purity of the heart. So did Zarathustra and the Magis. So did Krishna and his companions and the Vedantists. So does Baba stress purity of heart. Today we shall see what the heart is, what the mind is. The mind has a dual function. The first function is that of thinking. The impressions that lie dormant have to be worked out, and so they appear as thoughts. The second function of the mind includes all feelings and emotions. That means the heart. So what is known as the heart is actually the second functioning of the mind itself. This means that the first functioning of the mind is not important as far as spending impressions is concerned. It is natural. But the second functioning of the mind, which is generally called the heart, is important because it is the seat of desires. And unless the heart is void of all desires and all feelings, unless the heart is pure and naked, God, who is your innermost self, cannot reveal himself. Is this clear?
Malcolm Schloss asked Baba, what about repressions? Not wishing to divert his talk, Baba replied to Malcolm,
Do not ask this now.
Baba then continued,
God is your innermost self. That means that behind this limited body, you have within you energy and mind. You as you, the ego, are also there. You have this idea of yourself as body. You feel happy, depressed, hungry. But behind all this, there is something that cannot be gotten rid of, even if the body is not there. If both your hands or both your legs were to be cut off, you would still exist as you. That means you are not this body. Who then are you?
I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not this. I am not that. I am nothing but a living lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead, the truth cannot be.
This you is your innermost self. We must find in our own self this important I. Who am I?
I am not the body. I am not the mind.
I might be energy, but when I do not move, do not act, when I am unconscious, energy does not manifest itself. Yet I still exist, so I am not energy. I might be mind, but the same applies here. When I am unconscious, in sound sleep, the mind is not functioning. But I still exist, so I am also not mind. Then who am I? I am that which is not body, not energy, not mind.
I am nothing but a living lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead.
In sound sleep, what do you experience? Nothing. That is you. Why? If I am not body, energy, mind, then I am that which has no body, energy, mind. And only sound sleep means that. What wakes you up from sound sleep? The impressions that lie on your mind. While spending old impressions, new impressions are formed, which also need spending. So ever new forms are taken according to good and bad impressions. Man, woman, beautiful, ugly, rich, poor, strong, weak, and so forth. Then comes a time when the impressions grow fainter and fainter, scarcer and scarcer. Eventually, they become so faint that they fade away completely. And when impressions are not there, mind's functioning is stopped. The heart is now naked and pure because there are no desires, no longings, no feelings. Yet you are still there.
I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not this. I am not that. I am nothing.
Then the I now experiences that state which is above mind. It experiences the original state of real I-ness. This ego is called the real ego. And just as with the false ego, Malcolm said, I am this body, or I am this energy, or I am this mind. Now Malcolm says, I am God. Only the pure in heart can see God. That is what Pardam asked about, what being pure in heart meant.
I am nothing but a living lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead, the truth cannot be.
Now about myself. When I was a boy, I did not know anything. I had nothing to do with spirituality. I preferred marbles, kites, cricket. But in all the games that I played, I found myself naturally the leader of others. Yet one day, when a friend gave me a small booklet on the Buddha, I opened the book to the place that told the second coming of the Buddha as Maitreya, the Lord of Mercy. And I realized all of a sudden, I am that, actually. And I felt it deep within me. Then I forgot all about it, and years passed by. Baba Jan called me one day as I was cycling past her tree, and she kissed me on the forehead, and for 9 months, God knows, I was in that state which very, very few go. I had no consciousness of my body or of anything else. I roamed about, taking no food. My mother thought I was mad. My father understood, but said nothing. I did not sleep because I was unconscious. And then what happened is very rare. It is only for avatars who can take upon themselves the suffering of the world. I used to bang my head on the floor to relieve my pain. It was as if the whole universe was on my head. I used to break windows open with my forehead. Then I was drawn to Sai Baba. Sai Baba directed me to Pasni Maharaj. He picked up a stone and hit me on the head. All at once, I felt calm and I knew I was the Ancient One.
Baba then explained,
What is needed is to become, not only to see. You have to become what you already are. You are God, but you have to know how to become God. And Christ humiliated himself. God himself crucified himself to teach this. Through love, become what you already are.
At 10 a.m. Baba arrived at Mehrabad, where he greeted each of us warmly and led us into the lounge. Erich and Mayaji followed with a phonograph and some records. Baba stated,
Kabir said, any music is the seventh shadow of that word. As soon as I break my silence, that first word will make your hearts vibrate.
Then music from Marian Anderson, Fritz Kreisler, Richard Crooks and Ima Sumac was played. While Ima Sumac was playing, Baba remarked,
As long as it goes to the highest and goes to the lowest, I like it. It reminds me of my original state. I feel happy.
Dana Field translated a song by Sumac as, I love only thee, I worship only thee, to thee only I surrender the key to my treasure. And Baba commented,
He who could do this would know me. This reminds me, when I drop this body, which will come about through violence, not one will be near me at that time. None of my lovers, none of my mandali, only those who would kill this body. The circumstances will be so created that in the confusion, Baba will not find one near him. Only afterward they will flock around. It is staring me in the face. It might happen before the end of the year. My breaking the silence, dropping the body, and all this. In the meeting, I will speak at length about this.
At the end of the record, Baba turned to Charles Purdom and asked,
Dear Charles, can anyone imagine how I am here and simultaneously everywhere? And I am being crucified every moment, and I would willingly die 1,000,000 deaths to make someone love our beloved God, who alone is worthy of our love.
Baba then ordered John Ballantyne and myself to sit completely still in his tomb for half an hour at midnight, with all the doors and windows closed, and with our eyes open, repeating his name inwardly. Baba walked up the hill this Sunday morning, again picking up stones and throwing them. When he arrived at the top, he smiled, but was suffering. Baba then turned to me and asked me what I had experienced sitting in the tomb the previous night. After I attempted to explain how my heart pounded and of the immense difficulty I had in trying to carry out his orders, he said to me,
Do not be frightened. There is nothing to fear. Don't force your attention. Even if a snake comes, let it pass by. And love Baba during these half hours. Why this fear? Fear means no love. Do not fear. Love me. Let us have music. Indian music is all about love. Some of you may not like it, but I will explain it. This is a wonderful state of love. The lover is not concerned with the planes and the different states of consciousness. He is only concerned with God and how to love God. He arrives at a stage when this love fills his world, and the pangs of separation are so unbearable that he says, I now want to forget you, but the more I try, the more I remember you. This torture is unbearable.
Baba proceeded to give interpretations of the words sung in the different records.
Oh, you who love to talk of love, do you know the difficulties and hardships facing you? The Master tests you at every step on the path of love.
Baba asked us to say whether we liked the music. Nearly everyone said he liked it and was much moved by the music. I certainly was. He then said,
Don't talk to me about music. The first song I sang has brought the burden of all this universe upon me.
Malcolm asked Baba, does God enjoy illusion?
God, as God-man, enjoys illusion, but is free from it, for he governs illusion. All these are words, but words based on experience. You have that solace at least.
The records continued with Baba interpreting.
Remember, one who really loves God, God annihilates him. God mixes him with the dust.
The records continued and a recording of Begum Akhtar was played. Baba translated.
O you who talk of loving God, you have to bow down to Him as though at every step, every particle of dust were a threshold to the Beloved.
The records concluded and Baba said to us,
So today we talked of love and heard songs of love. Today we resolve that we must love God at any cost. And the most practical way to do it, I will tell you at the meeting.
On September 20th, Baba told us to meet him at Ahmednagar near Kushru quarters at 7 a.m. to set off for Sakori to visit the ashram of Upasni Maharaj. We stopped along the way at Rahuri, where Baba once had a must ashram, and hundreds of people were there to meet us. By 9:30 we had reached Sakori. Sakori is the ashram of Upasni Maharaj, one of Baba's masters.
What beauty unfolds to the eyes of those who stand at the threshold of Eden. Their longing has made them a melody, prepared for the King's returning. How the breeze that stirs the flowers by the path of all our yearning brings a shout from the heart for the world to hear. The King is at last returning. As the horses pass, all our grief and loss are cast to the dust as nothing. Darkness is past, daylight at last. The King is returning to Eden. How a stillness that rings like a chiming now pervades from the glen to the hillside.